Sponsored by Rabbi Shlomi and Mirla Greenwald. This is a Sicha from Likutei Sichos, Chelek Gimmel, Parshas Bamidbar, Sicha Beis. And the topic of the Sicha is that in this week's Parsha we learn 7 psukim about the Avodah of the Levium and the number of teachings of Rashi on these 7 psukim. And there are 4 parts in the Sicha. The Rebbe will, number 1, ask 9 questions on Rashi. Number 2, present the key to understanding these psukim. Number 3, based on this, answer all 9 questions. And number 4, present the hira we learn from Rashi. After the Torah tells us the details about the counting of the Yidden and the order of the Degalim, so the Torah tells us the inyan of Shevet Levi, and it tells it us over here. The Sicha is going to focus on 7 psukim. It's in Perek Gimmel, psukim Vav, all the way through Yud Beis. And the first 2 psukim say, Hakriv esmate Levi, va'amadata oisa lefnei Aaron HaKohen, v'shersu oisai, and v'shamru es mishmartai, v'es mishmeres kol ha'eda v'gemer. We're going to do this presentation a little different than the typical presentation. We will have the regular flowchart part of the class. However, before that, we're going to show over here the psukim, because there are a lot of psukim and a number of Rashis as well. There are 7 psukim and a few Rashis on those psukim. So because of that, what we're going to do is show the psukim, and on these psukim present the 9 different questions that there are in the Sicha. And then afterwards, we'll present it in the flowchart form. However, since we'll already have presented it with the text over here, with all the psukim and the Rashis, and explaining it by the flowchart, we'll just go through it without the audio, because all of the audio that's relevant to that will already be presented and explained on the section where we see the text. The first question is, Rashi says on V'shersu Oisai, he says, Umahu Asheris, what is this service that the Levium service Aaron HaKohen? It's what it says in the next pasuk, V'shamru es mishmarte, and he explains, Lefisha shmiras hamikdash olav, because the guarding of the mikdash is on him, shalik rav zar v'chulu, that those who don't belong there shouldn't come close and then die. V'alavim halalu misayin oisan, and these Levium, they help Aaron in this job of his, and zuhi hasheris, this is the service. So according to this, we can explain the meaning of the word when it says V'shamru es mishmartai, his mishmeres, to mean simply to guard, the guarding of the mikdash. And the pasuk is telling us that this guarding, that is mainly the job of the Kehanim, includes the Levium in the role of helpers. And if so, the question is, it's not understood why Rashi says on V'shamru es mishmartai, he explains, what does mishmarte mean? Kol minui sha'adam emuna olav, any appointment that a person is appointed to, umutal olav la'seisei, and it's placed on a person to fulfill it. Karui mishmeres b'chol ha'mikra, it's called mishmeres throughout all of Mikra, over l'shein ha'mishnah chulu, and in the wording of the Mishnah. Why does Rashi choose to say that v'shamru es mishmarte, that mishmarte is the lashon of minui? Why doesn't he say it means literally guarding, the guarding of the mikdash that we're talking about here? The second question regarding actually this Rashi, where he says V'shamru es mishmartai, he says kol minui, that any minui is called mishmeres. So if mishmeres by the Levium means minui, so why doesn't Rashi explain it the first time it appears? This is in Perek Aleph, Pasuk Nun Gimmel, where it says V'shamru halaviim es mishmeres mishkana edus. How come Rashi doesn't explain over there that mishmeres is a minui, that kol minui, every minui is called mishmeres? The third question is, from Rashi and V'shersu Oisai, so we see that the Avodah of the Levium is to help the Kehanim in guarding the Mikdash. But in the next pasuk, in pasuk Ches, so Rashi says that in pasuk Vav, about what it says in pasuk Zayin, that the Avodah of the Levium is to help the Kehanim in guarding the Mikdash. But in the next pasuk, in pasuk Ches, Rashi says on the words Ves Mishmeres Bnei Yisrael, it says Bnei Yisrael. So Rashi explains Shakulam, that all of them, all of Bnei Yisrael, Hayuskukin L'Tzarchei HaMikdash, they needed the tzrachim of the Mikdash. It's just that the Levium go in their place in their shluchus, meaning that the Avodah of the Levium is in the place and shluchus of all the Yidden. So how do we reconcile this? That in Pasuk Vav Rashi tells us that the Veshersu Oise that's then described in Pasuk Zayin is that the avodah of the Levium to help the Kehanim in guarding the Mikdash. And then in Pasuk Ches, Rashi tells us that this is actually something that they're going in the place and shlichus of all Bnei Yisrael, not just the Kehanim. The fourth question is, regarding this Rashi, Ve'es Mishmeres Bnei Yisrael, it seems that the reason Rashi says, Shekulon hayu skuken l'tzarchei hamikdash, the reason he says this teaching over here is because it says Bnei Yisrael, the whole Bnei Yisrael. And so the question is, what does this have to do with Bnei Yisrael? So Rashi explains to us, Shekulon hayu skuken l'tzarchei hamikdash, that all of them needed the tzarchei hamikdash. And it's just that the Leviim are in their place and in their shlichus. But then the question is, if we look at Pasuk Zayin, it also says, Ves Mishmeres Kol Ha'eda. Why doesn't Rashi over there already address this difficulty? That it says Kol Ha'eda. What does the entire Eda, the entire Bnei Yisrael have to do with this Aveda of the Levium? How come Rashi waits until Pasuk Ches to explain this? How come he doesn't already explain it in Pasuk Zayin? The fifth question is, and this is sort of a grammar question, Rashi says on Pasuk Tes, on the words Me'es Bnei Yisrael, Rashi says Kumei Mitoich Bnei Yisrael. It's as if it says from among the Yidden. Kalaymar, meaning to say Mishar Kol Eda Nivdalu Lukach, that from among the whole Eda they were separated for this purpose. B'Gzeirus Hamakim V'Chulu, by the Gzeir, by the decree of Hashem V'Chulu. And so the question is, according to what Rashi said before, Shalavim Baim Tachteim B'Shluchusam, that the Levium come in place in the shluchus of the Yidden, Rashi should have explained Me'es more simply, because Me'es means from the Yidden, meaning when person one gives something to person two, so it's Me'es, it's from person one. So in this case we could explain that it was given from the Yidden because it's Tachteim and Bishlichusam, whereas Mitoich means it's just describing where it's coming from. It's coming from the place of the Yidden. But according to Rashi's explanation, that the Leviim are Tachteim Bishlichusam, so he could have explained it very simply. What's Me'ez B'nei Yisrael? Not the place they're taken from among the Yidden, but from the Yidden, that the Yidden are giving them, because they're coming Tachteim Bishlichusam, in their Shlichus. That means the Yidden are sending them. So how come Rashi changes it from Me'ez, that is being given from the Yidden, to Mitoich, which means where it's coming from. It's coming from within the Yidden. The sixth question is that on the other hand, the total opposite happens in Pasuk Yud Beis. Rashi says on the words Mitoich B'nei Yisrael in Pasuk Yud Beis, Rashi explains Sheyu Yisrael Seichem Eisan L'Shever Shali, that the Yidden should, so to speak, rent them for my service, meaning like Me'es, not Mitoich, because Mitoich means the place they're being taken from. And Rashi interprets it, what does Mitoich B'nei Yisrael mean? Meaning that the Yidden are giving them, not that they're being taken from among the Yidden, but it's from the Yidden, that the Yidden are giving the Levium to the service of Hashem. So on Mitoich, Rashi explains it like Me'es. And earlier, in Pasuk Tes, Rashi explained Me'es to mean Mitoich. The seventh question is, on Pasuk Tes, it says, V'nasata salavim la'aron u'levanov, Nisunim heimaloi. So Rashi says Nisunim heimaloi le'ezra. And so the question is, what does Rashi mean when he says le'ezra? What's he coming to teach us? He already said earlier, V'alavim halalu mesayin oisam, that these Leviim are helping them. So we understand that it means le'ezra, to help. The eighth question is, why does Rashi also quote the words Nisunim heima? If he's only explaining the meaning of the word loy, that loy means la'ezra, for the purpose of helping them. And the ninth question is, later on in Parshas Ba'aleischa, on the pasuk ki nisunim heimali mitoich b'nei Yisrael, so Rashi explains the reason why it says nisunim twice. He says nisunim lamasa, nisunim l'shir. They were given for masa, for carrying the parts of the Mishkan, and nisunim l'shir, they were given for the job of singing. And so the question is, why doesn't Rashi also explain that in the pasuk in our parsha, which comes first, where there it also says the words nisunim. It says the word nisunim twice. Now we're going to move on to the key of the Sicha. So this will be understood by first addressing something perplexing in these psukim over here. And that is that one pasuk over here is repeated and written a second time. Because after the first pasuk says, V'shamru es mishmarte, v'es mishmeres kola edo, lifnei oil moed laved es avedis hamishkan, which is pasuk Zayin. The second pasuk, which is pasuk Ches, says, V'shamru es kol klei oil moed, v'es mishmeres bnei Yisrael, laved es avedis hamishkan, with the only change being the description of what's being guarded. Instead of es mishmarte, which is in pasuk Zayin, in the first pasuk, it says es kol klei oil moed in the second pasuk, in pasuk Ches. And therefore, because of this repetition, it makes sense to say that these psukim are talking about two types of aveda of the Levium, two different types of aveda, and both of them are the mishmeres bnei Yisrael. And through this basis, that it's talking about two types of aveda of the Levium, all the questions and all the contradictions will be answered. And now we're going to explain what these two avedas are. The explanation of this is as follows. The aveda of the Levium is divided into a number of jobs. There was taking apart the Mishkan, there was carrying the Mishkan, there was putting up the Mishkan, there was the singing, and then separately, we're going to put this into a separate category, there was the aveda of guarding the Mishkan. And in general, these are two types of aveda. There's the aveda in the Mishkan that was chiyuvi, something that was upon them to do, meaning the needs of the Mishkan, where they had to do something with the Mishkan, like taking apart the Mishkan, carrying the Mishkan, putting up the Mishkan, singing in the Mishkan. And then there's the aveda in the Mishkan that was shlili. It wasn't something to do, but to stop something from happening, to guard it, that Yidden wouldn't get harmed by going where they weren't allowed to go. And like it says clearly in Parshas Kairach, that the Yidden said, "Vayemru bnei Yisrael gamer, kol hakariv el mishkan Hashem yamus v'gamer." And whoever comes close is going to die. And this is something which is too much for us to handle. And Hashem therefore commanded, "Vayemer Hashem el Aaron, ata uvanecha ubeis avicha itach, tisu es havein hamikdash v'gamer," that this responsibility is on you, Aaron, and your sons. V'gam es achecha mate Levi gomer, and also Shevet Levi hakriv itach, bring them to you. V'yilavu alecha v'yisharsucha v'gamer. They're going to help you with this job. And now, regarding these two avedas, there is a fundamental difference between these two types of the aveda of the Levium. The first one, their aveda chiyuvim, was their personal obligation, and it wasn't a form of helping the kehanim. Even though the kehanim, it says, place them on their job, but it was their own aveda. This was something completely independent and belonging to them as Shevet Levi. Whereas the aveda in the Mishkan that was shlili, to guard it, that Yidden wouldn't get harmed, so their aveda of guarding the Mishkan, as it says clearly over there in Parshas Kairach, was the aveda of the Kehanim, and the Levium were only there to help. And now, once we have all this in place, understanding that the two psukim are talking about two different types of aveda, and understanding what those two types of aveda are, and the fundamental difference between them, that the aveda chiyuvi was their personal aveda as Shevet Levi. It didn't belong to anyone else. And the aveda of guarding the Mishkan was a job that they did to help the Kehanim. Based on this, we're going to answer all of our questions. Now we're going to move on to answering all 9 questions. And by the answer section, we're going to continue with the flowchart and afterwards show it on the psukim very briefly. So the main point of the answer is that since the psukim in our parsha come to describe the general aveda of the Levium, so it's understood that they have to describe both types of their aveda. And we're going to go through the psukim that talk about the first aveda and the psukim that talk about the second aveda. And in the process, we're going to answer questions number 4 and then question number 3. So because of this, this is why Rashi explains on the psukim of Hakar v'smata Levi v'amata eisa lefnei Aaron hakayin v'shersu eisa. That's pasuk Vav and pasuk Zayin v'sharmus mishmarta v'mishmeres kol ha'ida v'gamer, which these psukim are clearly talking about the Levim helping the Kehanim. It says v'amata eisa lefnei Aaron hakayin v'shersu eisa, and then it says umahu asheris v'shamru. Rashi says, what's the sheris? The next pasuk v'shamrus mishmarta. So these two psukim Vav and Zayin, are clearly talking about the Levim helping the Kehanim. So that's why Rashi says that this is, what's this Aveda? Shmiras HaMikdash Shalai Yikrav Zar. Because this part of the Aveda Levim is connected to the Kehanim. The guarding of the Mishkan, that no stranger should enter, is connected to their helping the Kehanim. So that's what Rashi says it is. It's referring to guarding the Mishkan. And it's for this reason that Rashi brings here the pasuk of Ata uvenecha ubeis avicha itach tisu savayna mikdash from Parshas Chelek, which we mentioned earlier. He mentions this pasuk in the Rashi. We didn't quote it, but Rashi brings it down because it says there clearly, over there it says it very clearly, that's the Aveda of the Kehanim with the help of the Leviim. And according to this, so it's understood that when it says Ves Mishmeres Kol Ha'eda, we asked, how come Rashi waits till Pasuk Ches, the next Pasuk, to explain what's Mishmeres Bnei Yisrael, how is it connected to the whole Bnei Yisrael? He gives an explanation. How come he doesn't explain it on Mishmeres Kol Ha'eda in Pasuk Zayin? But now it's understood that when it says Ves Mishmeres Kol Ha'eda in Pasuk Zayin, it can be explained very simply, that this guarding is relevant for the whole Eidah, because they're guarding the Mikdash, that the entirety of Klal Yisrael should be protected from not going in there and dying. So that's why Rashi doesn't have to say anything on the words Kol Eidah, because they're understood very simply. Now we're going to move on to where the second Aveda is taught and presented in the Psukim. And since the Pasuk says again, V'shamru es kol klei oil moed v'geimer, so it proves that it's now referring to another type of Aveda of the Leviim. And also from the words kol klei oil mayid, it seems that it's an aveda done with the klei mishkan. And simply, this refers to the carrying of the kelim and their singing, where they also use the kelim. However, according to this, the words Ves Mishmeres Bnei Yisrael don't have an explanation, because what do the Bnei Yisrael have to do with this aveda of the Leviim? This is an aveda that's the Leviim's aveda. This is what they have to do. What does it have to do with the rest of Bnei Yisrael? And Rashi explains, "Shakulon hayu skuken letzarchei hamikdash, elo shalavim ba'im tachtehem," meaning that the tzarchei hamikdash, the aveda chiyuvis, that this pasuk is discussing, the aveda of the Levim that they had to do with carrying the kelim and their singing, is really an aveda that is placed on all the Yidden, and that's the meaning of Mishmeres Bnei Yisrael. It's connected to all the Yidden, and the Levim are doing the shlichus of the Yidden. And since this is a chiddush, it's a chiddush to say this, that this is really the avodah of all the Yidden, everyone really has to be doing it, and the Levim are just our shluchim. So therefore Rashi brings a proof from what's written later on. We didn't quote this either earlier on, but Rashi says, Ki sacher hu lochem chelef avedaschem, that the meiser, the Yidden give the Levim, ki sacher hu lochem, is a reward. For what? Chelef avedaschem, for the aveda the Levim do instead and in the shlichus of the Yidden. And so this answers our third question, that earlier on we spoke about the Levim being there to help the Kehanim, and then that's in Pasuk Zayin, Vav and Zayin. And then in Pasuk Ches we talk about it being connected to all the Yidden, because it's two different avedas. Pasuk Vav and Zayin talks about the Levim helping the Kehanim in guarding the Mikdash, whereas Pasuk Ches talks about a new aveda, the aveda of the Levim themselves, where over there we learn a huge chiddush over here, that really it's the aveda that's really placed upon all of Klal Yisrael, and it's just that the Levim are doing it in their place and in their shluchus. Now we're going to move on to answer questions number 1 and number 2. So question number 1 was, how come Rashi says on Pasuk Zayin that Mishmeres means Minoi? How come it doesn't say it means literally the guarding? Because we're talking about the Levim guarding the Mikdash, guarding the Mishkan. And question number 2 was, if indeed, whenever it says Mishmeres, it means Minoi, how come Rashi doesn't say it on Perek Aleph, Pasuk Nun Gimmel, the first time it's used by the Avodah of the Levim? So according to what we explained till now, so according to this, we can't explain the word Mishmeres in this pasuk, meaning pasuk Ches, when it's talking about the Avodah Levim themselves, to mean guarding, since it's not talking about the guarding of the Mishkan. And therefore we must say it means Minui, that the Levim should make sure to fulfill the Minui placed on the Bnei Yisrael. V'shamrus Mishmeres is referring to the Minui. And since in the previous pasuk it uses the very same wording in pasuk Zayin, so it makes sense that also there it means Minui, which is their appointment over Kol Ha'eda to guard them from entering the Mikdash. Even though in pasuk Zayin, like we said, it can be translated literally as guarding. However, it makes sense that since we explain, and we have to explain, that it means minui in Pasuk Ches, when it talks about their personal Avodah, that it also means minui in Pasuk Zayin, when it talks about them guarding and helping the Kehanim in guarding the Mishkan. Why does it make sense to say it there as well? Since both psukim are said in one continuation. So it makes sense if the same word is being used twice, once after the other, that they mean the same thing. And therefore Rashi explains in the pasuk of Shamru es Mishmartai, right away in pasuk Zayin, that it means minui, to tell us that it doesn't mean to actually guard, because that's what we would say, because it fits nicely. So Rashi tells us already in pasuk Zayin, no, it means an appointment. And the reason we're going to say that is because in the very next pasuk the word is used again, and over there it cannot mean to guard, it could only mean a minui, an appointment. So it makes sense that both of them mean the same thing. And therefore Rashi doesn't say anything on the pasuk of Shamru Alavim es Mishmeres Mishkan Ha'edus in Perek Aleph pasuk and Gimmel, because there's no reason to not say it means guarding, which the pasuk is talking about. Let us say it means guarding. It's talking about guarding. It uses the word Mishmeres. The literal meaning of Mishmeres is guarding. So that's what we're going to say, that it is referring to guarding. How do we know it's talking about guarding? It says clearly over there that through them, V'shamru alavim es mishmeres mishkan edus, v'lo yeh ketzef al daltzis b'nei Yisrael. There won't be the wrath of Hashem on the congregation, on the Yidden. So clearly we're talking about their job to guard the Mishkan, to guard from the Yidden from going where they don't belong. And there shouldn't be wrath and a destruction brought upon the Yidden. So over there where it's talking about guarding, it makes sense to say the word mishmeres is understood literally, that they have to keep the job of guarding the Mishkan. Now we're going to move on to answering questions 5 and 6, where we asked how come in Pasuk Tes Rashi explains me'es to mean mitoich, and in Pasuk in Beis Rashi explains mitoich to mean me'es. So according to all of this, when it's written later in Pasuk Tes, when Asatas Alavim la'aron Olavanov, Nesunim Heimaloi Me'ez B'nei Yisrael, so it's talking about guarding the Mikdash, because it says when Asatas Alavim la'aron Olavanov, they're being given to Aaron and his sons, to the Kehanim. With there, the Levim are not the shluchim of the Yidden in this Aveda. This is just something that they were given to help the Kehanim with. And therefore we can't explain Me'ez B'nei Yisrael simply that the Yidden gave them as shluchim, since they're not being given by the Yidden as shluchim. This has nothing to do with the Yidden to be their shluchim of the Yidden. And so it's understood very well where Rashi explains K'may mitoich B'nei Yisrael, K'leimer mishar kol ha'eda nivdelu l'kach. That when it says Me'ez B'nei Yisrael, it's not saying that the Yidden gave them. It's saying from the area they were taken from, the place they were taken from. They were taken from among the Yidden, but not that the Yidden gave them, since this has nothing to do with the Yidden, that the Yidden should give them as their shluchim. However, when it's written afterwards in Pasuk Yud Beis, V'ani hine lekachtes alavim mitoich B'nei Yisrael tachas kol b'char gomer, which refers to Hashem taking the Levim directly from the Yidden. V'ani, Hashem says, hine lekachtes alavim, I took the Levim. And it's not that we're not talking about that the Kahanim were taken and they had the Levim join them, but rather this is the taking of the Levim themselves for their own Avodah, their Avodah Chiyuvis, where there they are shluchim of the Yidden. So therefore, Rashi explains, Yisrael meaning that mitoich means me'es, because in this role of theirs, they are shluchim of the Yidden. So v'ani hine lekachtis alavim mitoich b'nei Yisrael means me'es b'nei Yisrael. It was given by the Yidden because they are the shluchim of the Yidden. And this point that we're saying over here is especially since this pasuk is at the start of a new parsha. There's a pay over here. It says in pasuk Yud Aleph, it starts on a new thing. Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe lemer, v'ani hine lekachtis alavim, which is after the conclusion of the previous parsha, which says right at the end in pasuk Tes, or in pasuk Tes and Yud, v'nesatis alavim la'aron alavanov nesunim heimaloi me'ez b'nei Yisrael. So it's understood that the previous matter ended, which is talking about the job of the Levim in helping the Kehanim. And so when it's written, V'ani hine lekachti es haLevim gamer, it's not a continuation to their being given to Aaron Avanov to guard the Mikdash, but rather the Aveda that's unique to the Levim. So this is just emphasizing even more that this is talking about the other Aveda of the Levim, the Aveda that's theirs personally, and they're being given Me'ez B'nei Yisrael. They are the Shluchim of the Yidden, like Rashi explained earlier on Mishmeres B'nei Yisrael. So that's where Rashi says that Mitoich means Me'ez. Now we're going to move on to answer questions 7, 8, and 9. And they were all on pasuk tes, where it says v'nesatas alavin la'aron olavanov nesunim heimaloi meis b'nei Yisrael, where it explained it's talking about where they're given to Aaron Uvanov, which is to help the Kehanim in guarding the Mikdash. So we had three questions here on the pasuk and on the Rashi really. So Rashi says nesunim heimaloi le'ezra. So one question was, how come Rashi says nesunim heimaloi and he says le'ezra? We already know. It says earlier, Rashi told us that they're there to help the Kehanim. Also, how come Rashi quotes the words nesunim heima from the pasuk? And then finally, how come Rashi doesn't explain why the pasuk writes the word nesunim twice, like the explanation he gives in Parshas Ba'aleischa, which is later on. So according to everything we said till now, according to this, it's also understood why in the pasuk of v'nesatas alavim la'aron olavanov nesunim v'geimer, Rashi can't explain like he does in Parshas Ba'aleischa that it means nesunim l'masa, nesunim l'shir, that they're given for carrying the Mishkan and for singing. Since it says clearly in the pasuk over here that it's talking about the avodah that's connected to Aaron Uvanov, v'nesatas alavin la'aron uvanov, and that's only for guarding the Mikdash. There's not two things over here, and therefore we must say that nesunim is written twice to emphasize and strengthen the point, like we find that a word is written twice in order to emphasize it. And nevertheless, even though we're talking about where they're given to Aaron Uvanov, which is to help, and so there's no need to say anything over here. Rashi explains in Sunim Heimaloi le'ezra. Why does he have to say anything over here? It says it's talking about where they're given to Aaron Uvanov, and Rashi already told us it was to help. And also, like we have here in parentheses, if he is going to say it, that it's le'ezra, he should have said it on the beginning of the pasuk. When it says v'nesatas alavim, Rashi he should say it's le'ezra. So the answer is, and this also will explain to us why Rashi quotes the words nesunim heima as well in the Dibra Maschel, because the main intent of Rashi over here is not to tell us that it's to help, l'sayeya, because we know that already. The main intent of Rashi over here is to answer, how can we say about guarding the Mikdash that it's me'ez b'nei Yisrael? It's not something that was given in the shluchos of the Yidden. This has nothing to do with the job of the Yidden. This is something they were given to the Kehanim in order to help them with their responsibility. It has nothing to do with b'nei Yisrael. And that's what Rashi is doing over here. He's telling us it's nesunim heimaloi. When it says nesunim heimaloi, me'ez b'nei Yisrael, you have to read like this: nesunim heimaloi le'ezra, and it is mitoich b'nei Yisrael. So not nesunim heimaloi me'ez b'nei Yisrael, but nesunim heimaloi le'ezra. And where is it? Mitoich b'nei Yisrael. And so the two explanations of Rashi on nesunim heimaloi le'ezra and me'ez b'nei Yisrael, where he explains that it's mishar kol edel nivdul lukach, that it's mitoich. They come in continuation to one another, or they are actually really one Rashi. Rashi is just telling us how to read the pasuk, and the Rebbe says in the Ur, that's why Rashi says nesunim heimaloi. He says le'ezra and not l'sayeya, even though earlier he uses the word misayim, they help them. He doesn't use the word that they're oizrim, because l'sayeya is a word that Rashi would use. Le'ezra is a word the pasuk would use. So Rashi is telling us how to read the pasuk here. So he uses a word of the pasuk, and nesunim heimaloi le'ezra, and it's mitoich b'nei Yisrael. Since we already went through all the answers in the flowchart form, we'll just mention here briefly that the psukim that are in purple refer to the avodah of the Levium, where they were there to help the Kehanim in guarding the Mikdash, and the psukim that are in blue are talking about the avodah of the Levium, which was their own personal avodah. And based on that, all the questions are answered. The hira from all of this is, the Rambam writes, V'loi shevet Levi bilvad, and not just shevet Levi alone, Ela kol ish v'ish mikol ba'ei elam, but rather each and every person from the inhabitants of the world, Asher nedava ruchai oisei, whose spirit generously motivates him, V'hevinoi madoi, and he understands with his wisdom, Lihibodel, lamid lifnei Hashem, to set himself aside and stand before Hashem, L'sharsei ula'avde v'chulu, to serve him and to minister to him. So Harez and Iskadish Kodesh HaKadoshim v'chulu. He has this level of holiness like the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So one can think that since he didn't yet reach this level of Nedave Ruchai Oisei Ve'vinim Adai, because that's the prerequisite, he says, any person Asher Nedave Ruchai Oisei Ve'vinim Adai. So the person may think to himself that they're not included in those who are able to do this. So to this comes the Ira and Rashi. This is one of the main things we learn in the Sicha over here. That this is a road that's said even to a 5-year-old, and so also to one who is holding on the level of a 5-year-old in Avodas Hashem. What does Rashi teach us? That the Avodah of the Levim, their own personal Avodah, not the one where they're helping the Kohanim, but their Avodah, is really that shekulon hayuskukin l'tzarchei mikdash. Really, everyone needed this. It's just that the Levim go in their place in their shlichus. And the rule is that whatever a person is unable to do, their shluchim are unable to do. And so certainly, if the Levim can be the shliach, the shluchim of the Yidden, each and every person is able to do this avodah of the Levim. It's for every person, and that's where the Levim can be the shluchim. Every person is able to do the avodah of libadol abmid lifnei Hashem l'shor seila avdei, to fulfill their shluchos in this world and make a dira b'tachteinim for Hashem.